Hello, everyone, and welcome back for the EKG Basics Part 6. My name is Austin Kaiser. I'm a paramedic and the clinical educator for PHI over here in California. Part 6 is all about that pulmonary embolus, which is probably my favorite EKG topic on the planet, looking for the pulmonary embolus on a 12 lead. So let's talk about right heart strain and then understand the common findings for a pulmonary embolus. So first and foremost, listen to your patient. Do they have a recent sudden onset shortness of breath? Is it not responding to to oxygen therapy? Do they have a decreasing blood pressure over a short span of time? Do they have a history of DVTs or birth control? Have they been sitting for a super long period of time, like on a plane ride, or did they just have a recent long bone surgery? These are all screaming pulmonary embolus to your patient. 12 lead EKG is extremely vital in the early diagnosis because the one thing that we don't want to do is we do not want to be the person to misinterpret this as just some random T wave inversion. We want to be the person who recognizes this as a PE. So don't be that guy because nobody likes that guy. All right, so what are we looking for in a PE? So a lot of people want to look for sinus tach, and that's all good, but sinus tach is generally only present on about 50% of pulmonary embolus, so half of pulmonary emboli are not tachycardic. Everybody likes to look for that S1Q3T3. That's what I was taught to look for by EKG gurus, but we have I say we like I had anything to do with it, but very, very intelligent people have discovered that S1Q3T3 is kind of garbage. It's only about 15% specific for PEs, so it's really not something that I look for ever other than to be like, oh, look, there's that. The big thing that we're looking for is a new onset right bundle branch block, and we are looking for that T wave inversion in leads V1 through V4. So we're looking for that anteroseptal T wave inversion. And if we also have T wave inversion in the inferior leads, that is more specific for a PE than anything else. So let's look at this 12 lead. We see that this is I can't really hardly see P waves on this 12 lead at all. Probably just because it's a bad kind of a bad picture. But we'll call this a sinus tach at about a rate of 150. This heart rate is pretty fast, so we may actually not have P waves real visible on this. But we see that lead 1 is about half up, half down. But remember, we really shouldn't see negative deflection in lead 1 hardly at all. So we're going to call this a rightward axis. I don't see any big disqualifiers. Looking for injury patterns. I don't see a whole lot of ST elevation, but I absolutely see some big flip T waves in V1 through V4. I do see that S1 Q3 T3 in this lead or in this 12 lead as well, because I have the presence of an S wave in lead 1, the presence of a Q wave in lead 3, and I also have a flipped T wave in lead 3. But then, much more importantly, I've got those flipped T waves in V1 through V4. So don't use S1Q3T3 because it is not very specific. This is a repeat of a 12 lead that we looked at just a little while ago. So we see that this female has a sinus rhythm at a rate of about we'll call this just under 100, probably about 95 or so. We see that we do have a little bit of a rightward axis. I don't see any disqualifiers. I see those massive flip T waves in V1 through V4, as well as flip T waves in 2, 3, and AVF. So we have flip T waves in V1 through V4 and the inferior leads. This was that 28-year-old female with the submassive saddle PE that needed to be surgically pulled out. This was a very, very sick 28-year-old female. So big flip T waves in V1 through V4, as well as inferior leads. This is a pulmonary embolus. So take home points for PE. Sinus Tach is all good and dandy, only occurs in about 50% of people. T-wave inversion and rightward axis is the absolute findings that we need to be looking for. But those three together, sinus tach with T-wave inversion and a rightward axis, we need to be thinking pulmonary embolus. Remember that T-wave inversion in V1 through V4 and the inferior leads, so anteroseptal and the inferior leads, has a 94% specificity for the presence of a pulmonary embolus. It is an absolute diagnostic tool for you in this circumstance. So if you guys have any questions about that or would love to hear your comments, you can reach out to me at akaiser@phirmedical.com, and we will see you guys on the next one.